Talking about how to become a better employee, to some people may sound like how to suck up to the man. In many cultures today, there is an attitude of doing the least amount of work possible at your job to just get through the 40 hours that you have to do to get your paycheck at the end of the week so you can get on with your life. I'm here to tell you that focusing on becoming a better employee and better at your job could make a really significant difference in your life. For whatever reason, it seems like part of human nature is an interest in progression and getting better and doing more. And a lot of people think this way about their skills or their hobbies, their finances, or anything else in life. If you also view your job in this same light, you're far more likely to be motivated and excited by the work you do on a daily basis. And yes, being a better employee is going to make your coworkers and managers much more happy with you, which is only going to increase your potential for future opportunities and income. If you're going to live on this planet for 70 or 80 or 90 years, and you spend 40 of those years working, your life is going to be far more fulfilling if you work to see what you can accomplish during those 40 years, rather than just doing the least amount of work you have to scrape by. And finally, most people who hold jobs interact with other human beings during their job. So if you're in a better mood and you're treating other people positively, it's going to put them in a better mood, which is really you contributing to making work in general a better environment. And that's a perfect segue into my number one and most important tip, and that is to just be a good person. Treat people well. In my opinion, the most valuable trait that anyone can have during their time in life as an employee is kindness. And that means kindness towards customers, kindness towards subordinates and superiors, kindness towards the people that you're paying to do a service for you as well. Being kind is the number one most important factor in being a better employee for a ton of reasons. Many of these reasons are going to come out in the other tips over the course of this video, and I think kindness is the core to most of them. Think of someone who you have really enjoyed doing business with, or maybe you just saw a TV or movie show in which there was a business transaction and it looked really beneficial. Or to make this exercise even easier, just think of your favorite person to be around in your job. They're probably a pretty kind person. Kind people are far more likable. They're far more likely to do business with. Their customers would be happy. They would also have much more success in landing business of their own for themselves or their company. One kind person can really spread kindness towards everyone else in a team, and a team can really come together around that person. And an effective team could likely be a night and day difference between a certain business result or business goal. Your employees are going to notice this. Your managers or employer are going to notice this, and it's going to bode really well for you in your career. If you're doing this right, it's going to result in you being a very respectful person to everyone who you interact with. It's going to result in you helping other people pretty often, but also other people wanting to help you in return. Coworkers and customers are going to think very highly of you, and in general, you're going to be a joy to be around, which makes everyone else's experiences better. It's just such a major factor. The last point about being kind also includes considering other people's perspectives in every situation. When you're thinking through any situation from the other person or multiple people's perspectives, it's so much easier to understand the facts and emotions that are going into that situation, and it allows you to be far more effective in how you address that situation, whether you need to influence them to do something or you need to sell something or service a customer. Being kind is going to allow you to be selfless, not worry about your own priorities, understand what the people around you need to accomplish, and help them to do those things. They're just going to really appreciate you for doing that. Tip number 2 is just going to be to get stuff done. You need to work quickly and efficiently. This could be the most important tip if you're the type of person that I hinted at in the beginning of this video who feels like they want to do the least amount of work possible to scrape by just to get through their 40 years of employment to collect their pension and die later in life. I'm saying you really don't want to waste much time standing around the water cooler talking to other people or just staring at the floor. You definitely don't want to do the classic go to the bathroom and sit there for 15 or 30 minutes and do absolutely nothing, making people think that you could actually be in there for a reason that they can't bother you for, even though you're just being lazy. You want to be the person that is getting the most stuff done, so that you're the most helpful to your coworkers, you're the most helpful to your customers, you're going to be looked at the most highly from your employer. Everything is going to be in a better situation if you work quickly and efficiently. The lazy person would say that the people who get the most work done also get assigned the most work because they become the most efficient, but that's a good thing. You want to get assigned the most work and really have to challenge yourself to get all that work done too. The more work that gets assigned to you, the more opportunities you have to make people happy in the work that you do, the more opportunity you'll have to learn and to put your skills on display. You're really going to be able to set yourself apart from the pack if you are doing the most work, getting more work assigned to you because of that, and still keeping up with all of it. This certainly is not the most stress-free way to manage your career. I'm not saying it is, but I think it's the best way. People will notice your sacrifice. People will notice if you're the person who's getting stuff done. Your employers will notice, and you'll be the first person thought of when it comes to getting raises in the future. Customers will notice, they'll think really highly of you. That builds a positive reputation for you. Maybe they'll mention positive comments to your employer or other coworkers. There's a risk that you're going to have some extremely lazy coworkers who look at you doing a lot of work and go, oh, I hate that person. They're setting this bar so high, but That's just going to happen in any big organization. Hopefully those people watch this video and realize that they need to be extremely kind towards you, and then they'll be encouraging you and motivating you in all the work you're doing, and then they'll be motivated to try to catch up to the amount of work you're getting done. Then the entire team is going to be far more efficient as a business unit. Production and business efficiencies usually result in more income as well. Tip number 3 is going to be not to complain or really spread much negativity in general. I'm not saying to ignore negative situations, because bad things always come up in anyone's career, and sometimes like on a daily basis for a lot of roles. What I am saying is that you should be trying to make the best of every bad situation. You should be looking for a way to improve that situation. You should be looking for a way to learn from that in the future, or to train other people on what they should be doing differently in a positive way. And the biggest way to avoid any of this negativity is by focusing on your EQ, your emotional quotient, which in most situations, I would say is actually more important than your IQ, your intelligence quotient. There's tons of literature and writing and motivational speaking about emotional intelligence and how you can improve your abilities in interacting with people and getting work done and in being a better employee through managing your emotions well. The very best way that emotional intelligence is explained is as follows. Human beings are not computers that process ones and zeros. We process information through our brains, and our brains are always experiencing at least a small amount of any emotion. And since we are emotional creatures, almost every piece of information that comes into our brain to be processed and almost every decision that flows out of our brain passes through kind of an emotional barrier. That emotional barrier will impact almost everything that you process and every decision you make and communication you make to other people. If you're in a very good mood, then that emotional barrier is going to be positive or excited, and that could help you be extremely motivating and productive to others, but it could also affect you negatively if you come off as being like too goofy. I know that that happens to myself sometimes. If that emotional barrier is negative, then everything you hear, your brain is going to process negatively, and then everything you communicate back is going to be sent right through this negative emotional barrier, and it's going to come off very poorly. People are going to be offended by that, and then negativity is just going to spread. So emotional intelligence refers to your ability to understand the emotional barrier that all information is flowing through in your brain as it's being processed, and to understand exactly what current state your emotions are in and how that emotional barrier is affecting what you're hearing and your decision making, to try to block out any potential negative results or biased decision making because of that emotional barrier. So you could say it's much more difficult for people to make decisions effectively than computers because of this. It's really kind of a weakness of human beings, at least in the workplace. Of course, emotions are a great thing when it comes to like your family and your love life and all that, but in terms of like processing information, it just hurts. So the smarter you get in terms of your emotional intelligence is going to help you to avoid any unnecessary negativity and stop complaining about anything that you don't like that's going on. The next tip is just to be a good friend to your coworkers and your subordinates and your managers. And this is relatively similar to tip number 1, but it gets implemented in slightly different ways. If you're very friendly and close and positive towards your coworkers, just like you would be towards a group of your friends that you know from high school or college or whatever, it's going to make your team and your office or your entire company a much more comfortable place for those people to be. They're going to enjoy being around you. This will help in getting everyone else to want to help people out. It's way too cliche to say you'll start to feel like a little bit of a family, because I don't believe that that's the case, but it's a little bit like that, because everyone will end up having other people's best interests in mind, and it's just going to be positive relationships all the way around. I heard some advice that was given to a person once, and this specific person was complaining because all the employees in their workplace really don't act like they like each other and don't talk to each other much, and definitely don't want to spend any more time with each other than they have to. And so the person was complaining and saying, I hate my job, I want to get out of there. And the advice that was given to them was, hey, maybe you're there for a reason. Maybe you're the one person who can start to spread some friendliness amongst the team to bring all of them together. Without you in this position that you're in, nobody would be there to fill that role, and far less business and far less potential future opportunities are going to come from that. Number 5 is to be very honest about what you know and what you don't know. Your ego is just going to have to be left at the door. No one's impressed if you know a lot of stuff, and no one looks down on you if you don't know much stuff. Every single person is going to be in a slightly different spot along their journey of education of their job and their role in their company and the industry and what needs to get done. So especially in communication with people or in meetings with groups of people, if you don't understand something being covered, speak up and say that. Someone's going to explain it to you, which will then let you be far more effective at actually doing your job. And on the other hand, if you see someone struggling with a certain thing or a group of people who need to complete a task and you know of a way to do that efficiently, you want to explain that to them in a very positive way without trying to sound like a jerk, but share information that's going to give them a better experience too. Many people will say that the phrase "I don't know" is one of the most powerful phrases in business or in relationships in general, and I would agree with that. Now, don't take this too far, because sometimes people will get too comfortable doing this and they'll say things like, I would have absolutely no idea about that. You're gonna have to ask XYZ person. Those words and that body language are probably too common in business, and they basically just say, don't talk to me, I don't wanna help you, go away. They're not beneficial things to say in any communication. They're not gonna make you a better employee or help more work get done. When you really have no idea about a certain task, but someone is asking you to do that thing, a far more constructive answer would be, oh, I've never done that before, let me go ask this person, they can show me how, or I haven't done that before, do you know of the person who did that previously that can train me up on this? And the last point here is that you need to be willing to learn, and learn a lot. You don't want to let your uneducation around a certain topic prevent you from ever having to do any work in that topic, and on purpose especially. I think it's too easy for someone to go, oh, I don't know how to do that thing, but they never actually want to learn how to do that thing because they know it's going to result in them having to do more work in the future. Be willing to learn and be very positive and kind to people in situations when you don't know something or they don't know something. All of those things will really improve you as an employee. Here's a tip that I think is pretty unique. I don't know if I've heard this one elsewhere. I've just picked up on this from experience because I've noticed my own ability to do this thing effectively improve over the years in my specific role. And this thing is to fix things that your managers might not see. It's very common for managers to have a list of 10 or 20 or 50 whatever tasks that their team needs to complete, and they delegate the roles, and they see a process going a certain way and all the people get those roles done and things look pretty good from the manager's perspective. But hear me out here. No single person on the entire planet is as good at your role as you are. Even if there are other people that do the same job as you, there is no one else that knows exactly the things that you'll know based on maybe your specific area or the people that you work next to. So if you pick up on some information that would be valuable to the processes that you're working through, or things that are getting missed, or things that should be getting measured that aren't, that information should be communicated to your manager. There are just going to be certain little details that managers are not going to even know exist. And that's not a knock on them. They're working with big groups of people and they have bigger picture things in mind. If your position is more focused on a specific activity, there's no way they're going to be as much of an expert as you are today at that activity. And there is certainly an attitude where people will go, I'm just not going to tell them about this. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let this thing crash and burn. And that obviously is not something that makes you a better employee. Even if your manager's a jerk, try to have positive interactions with them and explain to them the thing that they probably want to know that you're seeing in a very beneficial way. They're going to have to appreciate that, even if they don't act like they do at first. If you've enjoyed this video or any of the other content on the channel, please do not forget to like this one and subscribe down below. Both of those things help me out very much and I appreciate them. So as always, thanks for watching.